I really hate to add to the negative discourse and the negative discussion around the Switch 2, but given how Nintendo has been handling the publicity of the Switch 2, especially Doug Bowser, his comment about that's what the Switch is for if people aren't interested in the Switch 2, I'm gonna go ahead and say something super sacrilegious. I think Sonic Crossworlds is probably going to outsell Mario Kart World. Purely from a statistic perspective. If a Sonic game was ever going to outsell a Mario game, it is going to be now. Like, literally. The Switch 2 has not sold any units yet. And because of that, the sales of Mario Kart World is entirely dependent on how many units the Switch 2 sells. Which, considering how much people are asking for and considering how people are reacting to that price, probably won't be a lot of units right off the bat. Now, that is absolutely going to change over the holiday season, especially whenever people see just how good the Switch 2 is. Not to say that I've ever played the Switch 2, but just given all the evidence, given all the impressions, the Switch 2 is just way better than the Switch in every regard except for user interface, which is like a dime a dozen. Like, user interfaces, while people do care about them, they're not as important as the actual system itself and the software on the system. People didn't like Sonic Team Racing when it first came out, and that's the last Sonic racing game to come out. That was in 2019. That was before all the Sonic movies. If you haven't noticed, Sonic has gotten way more popular since the Sonic movies came out. Like, to an insane degree. To the point that Sonic X Shadow Generations outsold the original day one. Okay, it wasn't day one, but like it was a month to be able to outsell the entire lifetime sales of the original Sonic Generations. But then we come to Mario Kart 8, and that sold 1 million units day one. But that was back in 2014 when I'm pretty sure everybody was a lot richer and had a lot more money, and that was 2 years after the Wii U had already launched, so it was about 2 years. A lot of people had Wii U's by that time. Okay, it sold about 500,000 copies on launch day. Mario Kart 8 sold about 500,000 copies in the United States on launch day, making it the fastest selling entry in the Mario Kart series ahead of 2008's Mario Kart Wii by 25,000 units. So Mario Kart itself is a powerhouse, so like I said, it's completely dependent on how many Nintendo Switch 2 units are sold. And who knows, maybe Mario Kart will get that 1 million units sold. We got the factor that Mario Kart World is being sold with the Switch itself, and depending on how many of those they're going to make available will depend on how many copies it sells, because of the fact that I'm not sure anybody's going to buy it separately from the bundle. If anybody's going to have that game, they will have bought the Nintendo Switch 2 bundle for it, and not the Nintendo Switch 2 and then a copy of Mario Kart World separately. Sonic Racing Crossworlds is going to be multi-platform, which means that it's going to be on the PlayStation 5, it's going to be on the Switch, it's going to be on the Xbox Series X, it's going to be on Steam. Sonic Racing Crossworlds has the one benefit of being multi-platform, and that I think will give it a slight advantage. Like, we gotta keep in mind the fact that Sonic is a huge IP. Sonic is a huge IP. It is the third highest grossing video game IP in the world. It's only second to Pokemon and Mario. While console exclusivity is definitely a factor, another factor is early impressions. And turns out we got early impressions for both games. Sonic Racing Crossworlds, from what I've been able to see on Twitter, it's mostly positive. People do have some complaints about it, but it's mainly overall considered pretty solid. And then Mario Kart World, everybody likes it, but they are very, very weary about the amount of content that the game has opposed to Mario Kart 8. So that's significantly less courses. The UI is a disaster as far as the character select screen is concerned, because they added all these costumes for all the different characters. Guess what? They've got their own separate character. They're being categorized as their own separate character rather than as costumes. So you've got pages upon pages of character select screens, all because of the fact that they don't want to add all the costumes into one sub selection screen on each character. And like, that's not... Ugh. We hate that kind of UI design. We all hate that kind of UI design. The other factor to keep in mind is that the global playtest for Sonic Crossworlds was a couple of months ago. I think it was back in February. And the game isn't even released yet. It's going to release like in a few months. They've got lots of time to be able to fix and tweak and meet those criticisms for that the game did have. Whereas Mario Kart World, the Nintendo Switch 2 is literally coming out in 2 months. They don't have a lot of time to tweak content. They have zero time to add content. As far as tweaking is concerned, they can do that, but as far as adding content, there's no way. There's no way they're adding a bunch of content in that time. Now, it could be that they literally just hid the amount of content in the game for the preview testing, but it's highly unlikely. What's probably in there is probably what we're gonna get, especially since like the battle mode is literally a repeat of Mario Kart 8. It's not looking good for Nintendo, but I'm not gonna say that that's going to ensure that they will fall, because this is Mario Kart we're talking about. It's one of the biggest IPs in gaming history. It is absolutely going to move over 1 million units easily if the Nintendo Switch 2 can sell just as many units. The fact that people aren't very impressed by Mario Kart World and the fact that it's console exclusive means that Sonic Crossworlds has as good of a chance as it is possibly going to get to be able to beat Mario Kart this time. For the first time ever, we might actually see a Sega racing game beat out a Nintendo racing game, however brief it may be. Like, eventually Mario Kart World is going to outsell it, but when Sonic Crossworlds does come out, it initially might outsell Mario Kart World, is all I am saying. Like I said, this is Mario Kart, it's got brand power, whereas Sonic Racing has zero brand power. So, I could be totally wrong about this, and I would not be surprised whatsoever. I just want to throw that out there, just in case it happens. I can tell you all that I told you so. Now let's talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 price. I think $500 is completely reasonable, especially if it's a system that literally is way more powerful than the Switch, and 2 can compete graphically with the PlayStation 5. Like, I think you're crazy if you think that is an unreasonable price. That's with the bundle. It's $450 actually for the console alone. With the bundle, it's $500. And like, that's an even better deal. You're getting an $80 game, allegedly $80 game, for $50. That's a steal. Now, whether or not that $80 game is actually worth $80, it's yet to be seen. It's not looking promising that it's going to be worth $80. So when the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders go live, I myself will be one of those buyers. And when I get my Switch 2, I will give you all a hands-on preview as to what that will look like and whether or not it was totally worth the buy. I think it is going to be. I really, really, really hope I'm not wrong on this. I will cry if I'm wrong about this. But even if it is, this is Nintendo. They'll find a way to turn it around like they did with the 3DS. They'll find a way to turn it around like they did with the Wii U. The Wii U, towards the end of its life, is a way better system than the Wii U towards the beginning of its life. Same thing with the Nintendo 3DS. The Nintendo 3DS is one of my favorite systems ever. And even though I never had an actual 3DS, I bought the Nintendo 2DS, I used that. It is by far my favorite system I've ever owned. And like at launch, that was not a good system. That was not worth buying. Like I said, Nintendo, they found a way to turn it around. And because of that, I have absolute faith that no matter what, the Nintendo Switch 2 will eventually be a success. This isn't like with the Wii U, where so many different factors played into the Wii U failing as a console. This isn't a case of just having an underwhelming upgrade. Like, this upgrade is significantly better. People understand what the Switch 2 is capable of. Like, it's not something drastically different, it's something familiar, and it's affordable. Like, when are you ever going to buy another console that's under $500? It's not happening anymore. Game consoles are costing $500 or more, and they are going to continue to cost $500 or more. You know what else costs more than $500? A good PC that can play games as good as a console. No. Even worse. A PC that can play games as good as a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, it's costing you more than $1,000. Game consoles are still more affordable than PC gaming. That is just exactly where it is. And unfortunately, that's the way it's probably going to be for the rest of time. Now, we may get more money, like the economy might be fixed to the point where we have more money in our pockets, but like that value is not going down, like ever. Especially since gaming is such a huge market. You gotta understand, like gaming is such a huge industry, and it takes so many people to make video games, especially AAA video games. And unfortunately, because Nintendo has chosen to make Mario Kart World $80, that pretty much guarantees that GTA 6 is going to be $80, probably more. It'll probably cost upwards of $100 per copy for GTA 6. And you know what? Since it's GTA 6, everybody will be buying it at that price. Unfortunately. And I hate to add to that negativity, I hate to be that guy, but that's just something we're gonna have to get used to. Gaming is a hobby that is earned. Like, if it cost $100 to be able to sit back and relax and play a game, that's a price everybody is willing to pay. It's just, gaming is too easy to get into, and it's too easy to enjoy playing a video game that everybody will happily pay that $100 just to be able to escape from their mundane life, from the terrible economy. $100 is totally worth the sacrifice to be able to just escape into a world where none of that matters. I'm so grateful that we have gaming. I'm so grateful that we have that opportunity and that experience. Like, it's not like you can pay $100 anywhere else and get any other experience. It is literally an experience that is worth that money. It is literally worth $100 to be able to get the experience that you get in video games. And I, for one, couldn't be happier that we live in a world where that is an option. Do I want games to be cheaper? Yes. Are they going to ever be cheaper? Probably not. That's just how valuable video games have become. And that's not a bad thing. When video games are becoming more valuable like that, the experience is worth more. It gives developers more an incentive to make better video games. And like, we want developers to make better video games. We don't want them to make worse video games just so that we can afford them. We want them to make as good of video games as they possibly can. And because of that, they are just going to cost that much. And I will pay it if it means that I'm going to get a better experience. And you probably will too. And probably everybody, and anybody who doesn't, will realize quickly that they're never going to be able to play a video game ever again. For those of you who refuse to accept that reality, for those of you who refuse to let video games be worth that much money, unfortunately, you've got two choices. Either one, you can wait for that game to go on sale, which they do all the time. Or two, you can choose to give up video games.